This is Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie on Premier Radio Networks.
Well, they call him the Crypto Hunter, John Rhodes. Find out why when we come right back on Coast to Coast AM. Crypto Hunter John Rhodes has been called the world's foremost authority on ancient reptilian humanoids or reptilian aliens. His pioneering work investigating claims of reptilian alien contact and years of presenting his research to the public resulted in the creation of entirely new genre of study in the UFO community. And here he is back on Coast to Coast AM. Hey, John, how are you?
Good to be speaking with you again, of course, my friend.
I love it. The Crypto Hunter. How'd you get that?
Well, it was more or less a label that was attached to me because I was very much interested in the cryptozoological point of view when it came to UFOs and other alien beings, and that search of mine adding more of a terrestrial point of view when it looks into the potential origins of what we're having contact with kind of guided me into being known as a person that went beyond the realm of his original studies and into an expanded field of various studies that most of us use when we're investigating UFOs, ancient culture, symbolism, and the like. And crypto is basically the Greek for hidden, so the crypto hunter is anybody that looks for anything hidden or is a mystery to them and they want to get to the bottom of.
Lots to cover with you tonight, John, including, of course, your most recent appearance on the UFO Hunters. I want to talk with you about that later tonight.
Yeah.
For those who are getting to know John Rhodes, tell me a little bit about your work with the reptilian humanoids and exactly how you got into that.
Well, I started hearing reports coming in from individuals at UFO meetings in small communities that I would attend just to be an observer and also to participate in discussion to some level. And I was hearing reports of people talking about meeting, instead of the small gray aliens or a humanoid being, something like a Nordic type, they were discussing meeting something that was very impressive. They were describing a tall reptilian humanoid being that was extremely muscular and intelligent and appeared to be directing the small grays. And the more and more of these reports I heard, I started looking into the potential for there being a reality to them and a pattern being seen here and emerging for the first time. And I started looking into the sciences of the potentials of extraterrestrial life being a product of Earth evolution by researching some of the most well-known paleontologists of our time and seeing what they thought were the potentials for the evolving of a human form within the reptilian lineage of our own planet. And these beings are the ones that I've been discussing with you for a number of years now, and as you have witnessed yourself through interviewing various guests, it's a tidal wave at this point of activity happening where really the grays are kind of taking the background of the entire UFO contact picture, and it's turning out more and more of these reptilian humanoids are being seen. So it's a fantastic study, and I think everybody else who has ever heard about it has enjoyed traveling along with us during our exploration as well.
When I heard people like David Icke talking about reptilians, I thought, oh, come on. And then, of course, as you know, he tied them into certain families on this planet. Might not be too far-fetched after all, John, huh?
Well, everything comes down to a matter of genetics when we're talking about biology on our planet. And as we've seen and more and more, genetics is something that can be manipulated and customized. And you can put data into genetics. It wasn't a number of years ago I saw an article in the paper where the Central Intelligence Agency had figured out a way to actually put code into a person's genetics, and it would replicate through their body. So on another location, only a drop of their blood would be needed to be able to decode the information inside his genetic makeup. So we have gotten far, far, far into the field of genetics research, and the entire subject itself is revealing more and more of the potential for just fascinating things to exist on our planet.
John, paint us a picture, if you would. Kind of describe, in your way, what a reptilian looks like.
A collage of the descriptions reported to the Center since the 1990s, and even to myself before as an investigator, we've come up with the overall image of something that can be on average 6 to 7 foot tall or 7.5 foot tall, humanoid being with a physical structure generally similar to that of a human, 2 legs, 2 arms, a head in the same position on the body, the eyes, of course, 2, no ears, just a small scale or flap, no hair at all, large back-sloping cranium, heavy brow, vertical slit pupils on elongated, almost side-round, wrap-around eyes at times, slits for nose, lipless mouth. We have also seen them to have 3 fingers with an opposable thumb, and having a very large quarterback-like frame to where if they're in an average apartment, they would have to stoop in order to walk around in the apartment and duck below hallways in order to walk from one room into another. And these are very intimidating-looking beings, simply because when you see their claws and look at their size and their frame and their muscular tone, you would think that they could just slice you open as much as look at you, and it is pretty awe-inspiring for the experiencers.
Personality, what are they like?
They can range from being benevolent to being almost like those of mentors, to others that have been acting rather aggressively towards their human contacts, and at times, acting to intimidate them through physical gestures. We haven't had anybody come back yet that I've ever heard of that has had a death occur to an encounter with a reptoid, although I think that the potential for one occurring has always been there.
Well, I can't remember the name of that Dennis Quaid movie a long time ago when he landed on another planet. Do you remember that?
Enemy Mine.
Was that it?
Enemy Mine, right.
Okay. What some people have described as a reptilian, and you had pieces of it, are very close to that creature that was on that planet.
Played by Lou Gossett Jr., yeah.
Exactly, which, by the way, was a very benevolent type of being. I mean, he was a friendly kind of E.T.
Right, androgynous, too, so able to have masculine tendencies to it to be able to give birth to an offspring. And also the message of the film was trying to show how we can be so more similar than we are unalike. Now remember that when you're thinking of extraterrestrial beings, we must, if we're going to have open contact or at least even private contact with one, we have to focus on our similarities rather than our dislikes if we're going to overcome it. And
that's a good point.
They did show that in that film, and interestingly enough, it showed that even the sense of family can extend, because when Louis Gossett Jr. died, the character died, the offspring was then raised up as a young boy by his friend, the human being.
That's right. I remember that.
They called him a Drac. The Louis Gossett Jr.'s character was a Drac, as in Draco.
Let's talk about some of the examples of reported sightings of these creatures on this planet. What do we have?
Well, we have some really interesting ones. The ones that I tend to stick with are the ones that never change. Stories that tend to change over time, I seem to dismiss that because of trying to remain objective in it. When stories continually change, I wonder at times if the experiencer is just looking for attention, and some of these events may be fictionalized or even just extensions of their own imagination into dream state. So I have to make sure I keep a channel on which reports I pay a focused attention to.
Sure.
One in particular, one that I found quite fascinating, was by a person by the name of Tal, T-A-L, and his story never shifted over the last 18 years that I've known this individual. He experienced an account back in 1979 in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in which in the middle of the night he awoke and at the foot of his bed, looking at a chart on a wall that he had drawn of UFO activity in the Four Corners area and potential cavern entrances into the inner Earth, suspected inner Earth that exists there. He saw the reptoid looking at the chart and then turned to look at him. He immediately backed up on his bed and grabbed an object and threw it at the reptilian humanoid that he was looking at, and he said that it kind of had a bioluminescent glow to it, but it was also translucent, so where he could see the dresser on the other side of the reptilian humanoid as he was looking at him, and the object he threw went through the being. And he said that at this same time there were two other persons in the house, one of which was having